Hi, everybody. We're just going to go ahead and give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes since this is our first webinar of 2026. We'll give everybody a second to get here, but just letting y'all know who are joining us already that I would like us to do quick introductions, kind of a round robin, get reacquainted. Maybe there are new faces here, but we're going to keep it quick as we go around the horn here. So today's meeting will be informal. Yes, I want people to participate, but we do have a plan to go over some campaign planning and collaboration ideas for this upcoming year. Good morning, Leah. Good to see you. I don't know how the weather has been for everybody. Let's start off with the weather, but it has been crazy here in Oregon. It was, I think, 75 degrees like 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden it's been 40 degrees and snow and rain, and we need the moisture, but I'm going back and forth between like very fuzzy winter sweaters and t-shirts, and I don't know. You would think after decades of living in the Pacific Northwest, I'd be used to it. But every mid-April, I'm always like, hmm. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Like Whitney just put in the chat.
Oh,
Yep. Hey, Rita,
okay. I
how's
was
it
like, I was
going?
gonna say hello, but I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to. So,
Yes. Do
and
you
I don't
like,
know how to turn my camera on with the Zoom. I was trying to figure it out here.
okay. Good to have you here, Rita. I was just mentioning that we'll probably go around and do quick introductions. We want this to feel like you are just kind of at a meeting with your most favorite coworkers, with
Absolutely.
us. Oh, that's good, Leah. I know that you are not camera shy. Okay. So just kind of okay, Leah will be back. All right, so just to give everybody a little rundown, I'm not sure if we have any new faces here. I'm trying to check the list as we're going, but my name is Samantha Below. I am the communications manager for the Native American Agriculture Fund. This Native Ag Communicators work group was an idea that kind of started with meetings that we were having, webinars that we were putting on. And we were thinking, you know what would be cool is if we created this space where all of our, not only our grantees, but if all of the organizations that we kind of worked with in whatever capacity, people that are covering storytelling in their tribal and rural communities, why not make this an open space to where we can all come together and do that collectively? And maybe we learn from each other along the way. And so last year in 2025, we were able to put together bi-monthly webinars, and some of that being led with information and techniques and skill set development. And then other times it was just an opportunity for us to get together as native ag communicators in Indian country working together and kind of be able to pick each other's brains, hear about what other people are doing. You know, maybe there's a conference that so and so just got back to, then they thought it was great. Maybe that's something you can keep in mind in the future as you grow as communicators. But that's really what this group is about. We do have, light framework and an outline for today's meeting, but we want it to be anytime you guys have a question or want to chime in, we want it to be an engaging session versus me just talking your ear off. We wanted to kind of start with our first webinar back being about campaign planning and collaboration. So, with campaign planning and collaboration, I know that what we're going to cover today, this presentation, is based around a specific campaign that I'm hoping that we can all collaborate on. But I want you to know that that foundation that goes behind a campaign is in this presentation. So you can take the outline. I also do have a couple of handouts that I'm going to email out to you to help go along with this presentation thereafter. Say you take that and you move it into your next campaign. But just so you know, this is interchangeable. You can take out the content and swap it with whatever you're working towards. We're just basically providing this framework because we would love to work on this marketing campaign with y'all. So, what is a marketing campaign? A marketing campaign is essentially a focused, coordinated effort to share a message with a specific audience over time. But it's not just one post or one email. You don't post and ghost. You don't post and people don't hear from you for months, right? It's a series of actions working together. So, thinking about social media, emails, events, storytelling, partnerships. And the goal of this is to help raise awareness. It might get people to take action or shift how people think about something. So, simply put, it is how we intentionally tell a story or share an opportunity over time across different platforms to reach people and move them to engage. So, just jumping in to what NAF has worked on so far this year is if I could identify it, I would think of us as in four different campaigns right now. And so the campaigns that we've started, and I'll go into just a little bit of each one of them, but we have had tribal departments of agriculture. We really kicked off with that because that news released that was passed I correct me if I'm wrong, Whitney, but it was November, December of 2025. And so with that, we kind of collaborated efforts with the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative, but also the resolution that was passed with the National Congress of American Indians. So we had come together, and you can see it on our social media page. I could talk about this campaign specifically if we wanted to for the entire time, because we really wanted to build a whole brand behind this campaign. So as you can see, our TDAs, I had actually went in and made that logo. I picked a color palette. I picked images for us to use. I picked fonts. I had a lot of things behind this campaign because we were going to share it, and we're going to continue to share it. But our goal with that one was to build awareness and relationships with tribal ag departments. So sharing resources and opportunities, highlighting tribal-led ag work, creating ongoing visibility and connection. We held a live panel where we had a couple tribal leaders join us. We had farmers producers, we had advocates. That is on our website if you want to take a look around that. But all of the branding seemed very harmonious when we were rolling out quotes from tribal leaders of support. And that's one of the things to keep in mind when planning a campaign. You want to make sure your branding is on point so people can tell that this is an intentional campaign moving forward. The other campaign that we are in, that we are probably wrapping up by the end of this week because our deadline is May 1st, but it is our 2026 request for applications for our funding cycle this year. So with that, we continued to have our colors represented, our brands represented. We used a lot of the same layouts, but we just were swapping images, which is really easy to do. Once you get that consistent branding, then you can just bring in different images to help make it look different and try to capture different audiences' eyes. We did a couple of quick reels thinking about prompts like how has NAF funding impacted this producer? How has NAF funding helped get this community garden off the ground? Things like that. So think about the prompts when you are behind um, the social media aspect of that. And also, everything that we're doing on the social media was very harmoniously helped push through by other efforts, like we had talked about in that last slide. What is a marketing campaign? We had emails going out, we had newsletters going out, we had all these other assets going out with our campaign push. So that goal is to get strong applicants and increase submissions. It does right now. It's looking like a lot of deadline reminders, trying to get people over the edge to hit that submit button, get their application in. Application tips, webinars, Q&A support. We did a lot of highlighting of frequently asked question, and we wanted to make sure that our call to action was clear. We want everybody to apply now. So, yes, we are almost wrapping that campaign up. I'm going to let my coworker, Mary Bell, speak about this next one, Faces of Native Agriculture. She was really the person spearheading this entire publication. So, go ahead, Mary Bell. And if you haven't checked it out yet, she'll tell you a little bit about where to find it as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a link in the chat to where it's saved on our website. But the goal behind this is really, well, there's several things involved. So we have been thinking about how do we change the narrative around Native American agriculture and really celebrate the successes and growth and getting people out there, people that we relate to, we can see ourselves in. That's one of the best ways to do it. Sam mentioned, on Reels and getting social media and getting a face to be that messenger of that topic or whatever takeaway you're wanting. It's the same goal with Faces of Native Agriculture. So it's really to uplift these stories of success that are happening across Indian country and really get those faces and folks out there. There's so many amazing stories. It's honestly a little hard to pick which stories to go after because there's just so many that exist. But I will say the individual that's on this cover, his smile is so infectious. My dad loves farming, but he does not smile like that in the field. And so it was awesome to get to go out with some of these folks, learn their day to day, what they do. And then also Sam got to go out too and take video. So throughout the year, we're going to be able to reshare these stories in several formats from the publication itself, from social media posts, videos and reels. So it's really a multifaceted way of storytelling and getting that out there. And so we're wanting to do this biannually. We're looking at doing another one this fall, and it's going to tie into the next thing that we're going to talk about. So I don't want to take that away from Sam, but definitely if you haven't already, please go check it out. We're really proud of it. We're really proud of the folks that are out there doing this great work. And if you have stories of success too that you want to tell us about, definitely get with us because even if we're not covering it or we can't fit it into something, one of the things that I love to do is help connect folks to media and media relations. So my background is journalism and reporting. So I understand what it's like to be on the other side and getting story ideas and prompts. And I know what reporters want and what they're looking for and how to make their job easy, which means they're more likely to pick up a story and carry that and take it. So sometimes it's me just thinking, okay, this would actually be a great story for XYZ publication. This will help get you some good PR out there, get people knowing about your mission and your work. So that's another way that this group can help as well is navigating that. We have platforms and resources here at NAF to assist with finding reporters who want to talk about your project or want to talk about that area in particular. We can also help with tailoring those messages. So this platform helps us you can put it in your press release and then it'll give you some suggestions saying, hey, if you did this, that this reporter is more likely to interact and take on this story. So happy to help in any of that capacity. And I'm just so inspired by all the stories across Indian country and having the chance to get out there and tell them in a fun way and get to partner with folks too to get those stories out. So
Absolutely. And Mary Bell and Whitney, like you guys know, we're in this campaign together. So if I, skip something or miss something that you guys think that needs to be called out, please feel free to like cut me off, chime in, whatever you need to do. And also, anybody, as we're going, because I see the chat popping off, feel free to ask questions because even if I'm talking, Maribel and Whitney can try to help connect you or answer those questions in any way. But one of the things that Maribel was starting to lead to, because if you think about me at the beginning of this presentation talking about how the framework and the outline is there, it is just interchangeable. That's kind of what Faces of Native Agriculture is for, what we're going to move into and what we would like your collaboration on. But the International Year of the Woman Farmer X Native Women in Agriculture. So the United Nations had designated 2026 as the International Year of the Woman Farmer to recognize the crucial role women play in global agri-food systems, food security, and rural development. This whole effort is led by the Food and Agriculture Organization and aims to really just highlight women in our field, in our industry. So, as we were talking about that at NAF, so we fund four eligible entities. I think that we kind of thought that the word farmer just kind of maybe narrows in what agriculture is. I mean, we were talking about aquaponics like just earlier in our group setting. So, because of the hat that we wear as the Native American Agriculture Fund, we work with farmers. Yes, we love them, but we also work with a lot of other advocates in our industry. And so we really wanted to kind of put together a campaign that still uplifts women in our field, but beyond kind of the farmer thing. So we came up with the Native Women in Agriculture. And so our goal is to uplift and amplify Native women across all roles in agriculture, thinking about producers, ranchers, fisherwomen, harvesters, farmers also, but policy leaders, educators, food entrepreneurs, community advocates, and so much more. What that will look like for us is year-long storytelling, community-driven interviews and profiles, panels and conversations. And what we're hoping to do by sharing with you is some cross-organization collaboration. And so moving into what a little bit backbone of this campaign looks like is we're uplifting Native women in agriculture, and we're still calling out that International Year of the Woman Farmer. So that's why you'll see two logos on a lot of things that we're doing because we want it to be harmonious, but also us kind of have our own angle at it. So we're aligning with this global campaign, but we're localizing it for Native and tribal and rural communities. So all the goals are the same, but we're just kind of maybe broadening it just a little bit so we can share and capture the stories of the people on the ground doing the work for ag in Indian country. So, the plan. Our goal is a year-long storytelling effort to highlight Native women across agriculture. Again, producers, fisherwomen, educators, policy leaders, community builders, etc. And so our focus is real stories, real people, real impact in their own communities. And it truly can feel that simple when you kind of just like strip all like the content planning, the social media designs, the branding. At the forefront of everything is that real stories, real people, real impact in their own communities. So even if you leave here today and you kind of are like, okay, she gave us an outline, she gave us this toolkit. That might not work for me and my community, or it might not work for you and the capacity that you have. But one thing that you can do is just kind of start and really thinking about who is doing the work on the ground but not being recognized. Like that's a great place to start if you think about it. So we want to identify women in your community and start thinking about those people who I'm going to say, because we work in ag, but also working in Indian country, you're probably going to get a lot of people that maybe do not want the spotlight on them. But it's important to spotlight on them so people can really understand the impact of the work that they're doing in the community. And maybe that leads to more people joining in. Maybe that leads to, bringing them in for ideas on how to get community things planted and started. No pun intended, but kind of. But if you think about the farmers, ranchers, fisherwomen, seed keepers, food leaders, ag educators, policy staff, who are those people that show up to even every, tribal council meeting, or they're the ones that are commenting on Facebook, like, hey, come to my event, or, we're trying to get this community garden. Who are those active people in your community that wouldn't mind taking, a few minutes to answer some questions for a profile highlight? Which leads us to making the ask. Keep it simple and personal. You're probably going to know a lot of these main characters that are in the forefront of your community. And I think a lot of people get a little freaked out when you're like, hey, let me put a camera in your face and like, let me interview you and ask all the questions. So, really remind them that this is low pressure and it could be in any like way that they feel comfortable in participating. So it could be in person, this could be a phone interview, and you can take those sound bites and overlay it with some B-roll that you have access to, or you can get off of Adobe Stock or Canva. This could even be written. I actually just got reached out to by our tribal newspaper called the Rawhide Press, out on the Spokane Indian Reservation. And it was literally just a "Where Are They Now" feature. And it was a girl that I actually coached in high school basketball. Also, small Indian country. She's also my cousin. And so she reached out to me and she was like, hey, here's a list of questions. We're just doing like an alumni spotlight, like where are they now? What are you working on now? And it was just as simple as me taking 15 minutes and filling out that Q&A, and I sent it back to her along with a headshot, and like they posted it on Facebook, and it was reshared out that way. So it can be really this low pressure thing. It doesn't have to be, not everyone's going to want to do a video interview, but asking and getting familiar with your person to making sure that they feel comfortable with what this spotlight will look like. Also, then we start gathering the story. So focusing on authenticity, not production. Thinking about those questions. How did you get started? What does this work mean to you? What challenges have you faced? What keeps you going? And honestly, you could ask those four questions and you could have a 10-minute highlight, depending on who you're talking to, right? Or you could have like a 6 slide carousel, but really thinking about just those basic questions. And then that might lead you to getting a little deeper in the interview. So if it's like, oh, how did you get started? Oh, well, I actually went to an agriculture class in high school and I really connected with the teacher. And so they put me in touch with this, they put me in touch with that. And now all of a sudden you're starting to see the story being delivered and rolled out. And then you can dive in a little deeper wherever you see that opening to ask a little bit more in-depth questions. And then once you gather that story, thinking about how you're going to purpose that. As Mary Bell said, with Faces of Native Agriculture, even, we're taking that publication, we're taking that interview that Mary Bell had with those people and those producers, and we're taking that and making that a social media carousel. We're making that a social media 1 minute video. We could even put together a 5 minute interview video. But thinking about those different ways that you can take that package and repurpose it into a lot of different things. This is really random tangent, but I saw a meme about even Taco Bell, and it was like Taco Bell, the one fast food place where it takes the same 7 ingredients and repurposes it 25 different ways, and it's still delicious every meal. still slaps every single time that you eat it. Think about that when you're approaching something like this campaign. Like if you have one quote, that one quote could be a photo of the speaker, a big quote, and then it in that caption can even go in a little deeper beyond that one quote. But like, how does that one quote support the mission of what you're working towards with this campaign? So thinking about sharing that story, putting together a content calendar. Mary Bell actually just put a content calendar together for us at NAF, but last year we also gave you guys a few little pointers, and I can reshare that presentation. But we gave you a few pointers on how to even start thinking of creating a content calendar. And so those campaigns we talked about at the beginning of our presentation, keeping in mind that those campaigns are all running simultaneously. We need a calendar to kind of help, when are we posting this? When does this deadline need to go out? When does this newsletter go out? So people have time to absorb that information and then follow through with that action that we are asking them to do. So social posts, reels, quotes, website or newsletter features. Make sure you tag the partners and the people, the organizations, and use those shared hashtags. So a suggested rhythm at the bottom of this is one story per month or adjust to capacity and focus on consistency over perfection. So not just having one in April and then one in November. What's something easy and quick that you can do and make that again like a monthly feature is a good focus point. So, collaboration opportunities, thinking about your community and where these people might be at. If nobody jumps out in front of you, like as we're talking about this campaign with Native women in ag, really think about reaching out to tribal programs. You can partner with ag and natural resources, education departments, anybody leading anything where you guys are, where your community is going out and being involved in agriculture. Any educational organizations around you, TCUs, extension programs. Students can support interviews, writing, and media. Also, a really good opportunity for interns or getting younger people involved who might want to have some more responsibility. And then local nonprofits, 501(c)(3)s, you can share story leads, cross promote content, co-host panels or events, and then really thinking about CDFIs. So I know for us, because we can't, NAF funding can't give to individual producers, but we fund CDFIs. Those CDFIs can lend to individual producers. So we've actually been reaching out to a lot of the CDFIs like, hey, do a fisherwoman up in Washington that might be able to take 30 minutes and run through these questions with us and we can go out and film her. And so we're really looking at CDFIs to help kind of be that middleman with connecting us to individual producers, but also, again, those local nonprofits, those educational organizations, and those tribal programs. So, thinking about collaboration opportunities there. So, how we can kind of pull this together. We actually have a toolkit made. It has the logos, it has brand assets, it has color palettes, it has some starter language for social media posts. But putting together a media toolkit, even for you or your organization, ours is all going to be NAF branded and it's going to be NAF this, NAF that. You can create a media toolkit and it doesn't have to be this big old thing. It can just be some framework around what you're rolling your campaign out to be. So your boss is on board, the board members are on board, anybody internally is on board with your efforts during this campaign. So we like to put together a creative brief or story outline so people can see the vision. This helps, like, we're actually working on a pitch behind the scenes right now to where we're trying to get some women together, right? But we are pitching that to our senior level management in a different way than we normally would. We're actually putting together a video so they can kind of see the vision behind what we're trying to execute with one of the aspects that goes into this story. So, again, creating a creative brief, but also sharing a story bank. So this is where you keep photos, videos, profiles. We have some generic photos and videos that we can share for you guys to use in posts that you might put together for the year of the women farmer slash native women in agriculture. But that's all going to be under that umbrella of a media toolkit. So then thinking about co-creation with different organizations, and again, tagging, resharing, reposting, using some hashtags, and able to amplify the message all together. Because overall, even if we're coming at this campaign with a few different lenses and a few things to consider, it's all under that one goal of amplifying Native women in agriculture. So, as I was saying, though, this whole outline can be used for any other campaigns that you have. Maybe it's not Native women in agriculture. Maybe you're working on putting some funding together for a greenhouse. Still being able to cross promote, cross share, creating a storyline. So, everybody creating a content calendar so everyone is on the same page as you guys are even going out and speaking in the community, or you run into someone, at the store and they're asking about this. But a toolkit is a really good way for internal staff to all just be on the same page. I'm not going to go into all of these in depth because of time right now, but really storytelling tips for this campaign. Maybe you want a screenshot, maybe you want to, I'm going to send these slides out as well, so you guys will have that, but you'll also have the webinar. But really, hitting those top tips. Keep it casual when making the ask. Be clear on timing. Let them know when the story or post will go live so there are no surprises. Tag and amplify partner organizations, tag us so we can share. We also are starting to do this thing in our newsletter where we are talking about good news in native agriculture. And so we're looking at stories that are popping up that we can put into that newsletter. Another thing that we're doing, sidebar pause, but we're also sharing out resources and upcoming webinars. So if you guys do have things coming up, please drop them in the chat and we'll include that in our May newsletter going out. But also thinking beyond your platform. Yes, social media is great. Your newsletter and internal comms is awesome. But as Maribel said earlier, how can you get local media involved? How can you work with tribal newspapers, community pages, and give these stories a bigger audience? Remember to keep it comfortable with your subject when you are interviewing and talking to them and getting an information. They're telling you their story, so you kind of got to work with them in that capacity. Um, Focus on voice, not perfection. You don't need to over edit or over produce. The most powerful stories are ones that feel real and grounded. A lot of times, what I see too is being online is one of the best videos is one that was not thought out whatsoever. It feels genuine, it feels connected, it feels like you're there with them. So really think about that too. I also know that it is disheartening when you work your booty off for this big ol' reel or video and it gets 5 likes. And you're like, gosh dang it, what did I do wrong? But really keeping in mind that people just kind of want to feel like they have a personal connection versus all of these fancy edits flying in and it seeming not as genuine. Do not forget to follow up and say thank you. Sometimes with us at NAF, we'll send kind of like a little swag bag and it'll just have like, sticky notes, a NAF sticky pad, some stationery, maybe a few stickers, maybe a few stress balls. If we have a tote, we might send a tote their way, but follow up. You don't have to send anything, but make sure you send a thank you. So follow up and say thank you. But we'll wrap this up here. And maybe there'll be time for questions or just some conversation. But ground rules when we're leading in any sort of campaign, keep it community centered. Let women tell their stories in their own voice. If you're using this framework for a different campaign, let the people who are there and wanting to talk to you, let them tell their story. You just gotta be a listener. And we in communications know what it's like to be listeners. And the big picture is that we're hoping that this campaign can help lift women up in our own communities. Together, we can tell this bigger story of what is happening in Native agriculture, but what women are doing for Native agriculture. Those seed keepers, those culture keepers, those advocates that are on the ground, those women that are showing up to community cleanup days, just really giving them a voice and sharing their story, one that reflects the full strength, diversity, and future of Native agriculture. I know I just threw so much information out to you. I really wanted to do introductions and say hello. And I really wanted to cover what campaigns we're working on. But with that being said, I do see people, going back and forth in our chat. But does anybody, Whitney, you want to go ahead and
Yeah, I just want to say real fast. One thing that we also think about as an organization is how this campaign work fits into our mission as an organization and our strategic planning. So take these pieces and apply them to what you all are doing at your organization, because obviously what we're doing is as a funder is very different than the attorneys and folks at Indigenous Food and Ag Initiative, or from the technical assistance providers who are really breaking down these complex uh, um, uh, resources for producers, or even some of the food sovereignty experts and the fishers, and what Buck does when he travels to DC to provide public comment to the Tribal Advisory Committee and things like that. Those are all very different um, aspects of what our organizations are doing. Is just a part of this collective message where we all come together, and that's why we wanted to have this space so we can find that common ground. But what we do is not always going to apply to what you do. So I just wanted to say, always have your strategic plan in mind as you're going through this campaign development as well. But thank you, Sam and Maribel. Great presentation.
Yeah, that really is a really great summation. And like we said, this outline is there. You just remove Native women in agriculture and you can apply it to any campaigns that you're working on, but also coming at it from our lens, we're going to be NAF focused. So we might only be able to cover those entities that we fund, right? And like Whitney said, you might be able to get a little bit deeper and connect with those personalities that you run into every single day. A lot of the people that we get connected to are through that funding lens, or we see grantee works on social media, and we're like, oh, that's a really cool project. I wonder if they have anyone to communicate with us that we can highlight. So, yes, keeping that in mind. And also, if you guys, I know Rita dropped in here about maybe getting a youth involved with Faces of Native Agriculture. If you guys have anybody else in your community that you think this is a cool story, they would be a really great highlight for you. We'd love to just explore all of that options. And, maybe it's not Faces of Native Ag, or maybe it's not even us, but we can also connect you to other entities that we are working with. So, yes, as Whitney mentioned in the chat, and Maribel mentioned in the chat, we do have some post work that we can do and send out to you guys. I'm going to send along that media toolkit with logos and colors, but we'll also share some of those previous slides from previous webinars that share kind of how to put a content calendar together, how to roll out some successful social media plans. Those are things that we did cover last year. So we'll just go ahead and send those resources out as a friendly reminder, because we do have some new faces here. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Cheyenne, for joining us. It was really great to connect with you guys. We will be here to give those resources, tips, tools, information. But at the end of the day, we're all working in this same space. So if you ever want to collaborate, if you ever want to show up and, just have a coffee hour together or with me and Mary Bell and just chat about things, we're happy to do that too. We're a resource to you, just like you're a resource to everybody else. So thank you guys so much for being here.